team ban.
Good morning, afternoon and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Defense of the Australians Season 2 Summer 2014. This is the Losers Bracket Semi-Finals, last Ronin versus Coronae, Australis. I am Doriyoshi and I am joined alongside with Zareth. How are you doing today?
5 seconds remaining.
Doing pretty good. Would be nice if it was a little bit cooler, but otherwise pretty good.
Reserve time.
That seems to be the only complaint I hear from the Melbourne. It's always so hard. Help me. Help me.
It's hot.
So, there was we have already got one team decided that's going through into our grand final. If you did not watch the last game, go watch that game out. It was between 300 Spuds versus Caffeinated. And let's get into this game. We do have last Ronin versus Coronae Australis. Last Ronin have taken down that almighty powerful offlane hero of that Timbersaw. Coronae Australis have taken down the second one of Bristleback and taken out that very strong mid hero in that Outlaw Devourer.
Yeah, some pretty standard bans coming out so far. Slark gets banned out as well. We've seen Slark get picked up and banned out a lot more recently, and there's the Visage pick up by Coronae Australis, so a very strong choice as their first hero to pick up. I mean, Visage, you can just get kills all around the map very early on in the game, and it can really help set your team up. You can start really snowballing from there on, and yeah, it's a good position to be in. So this is pick up quite nice there from Coronae Australis.
And not to mention, last week I believe it was, in one of our best of threes, we saw a scumbag Visage picked up and using his familiars to backdoor those the racks while no one was in base, because he's familiars to a substantial amount of damage, and you throw them behind that, they're either occupied with your familiars or they're occupied with your front door assault coming down, and he ended up picking up those racks, so he offers a lot in terms of versatility. Usually means aggression at the start of the game, so you have to be very careful with a lot of aggression he can throw out, because that Grave Chill and that Soul Assumption that does all the burst damage is kind of scary. I mean, it's not underrated or anything like that. Everyone knows how strong it is, but when you're starting to be attacked by it and the charges start racking up, you are not prepared for the amount of damage that comes out, and you generally tend to pick up early kills early on.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, exactly as you said, it's even if your lineup, or I guess side isn't the one that's doing the damage, even if, for example, you get initiated on and a lot of damage starts racking up, Visage can really turn around the situation with that Soul Assumption. And in those team fights, the familiars, those stuns, are very, very powerful. We see last Ronin, they pick up the Crystal Maiden and the Marana, so this Marana, versatile pick, can be played in various roles. We'll see if it's a support or a carry or an offlane or whatever it may be. But Crystal Maiden, a very solid support pick up there.
And I just want to clarify to everyone, it is the lower bracket grand, that's the team I did announce earlier.
Yes.
They did go into the lower bracket. I thought I said lower, but I must have accidentally missed that, so they are going into the lower bracket grand finals, as today is the lower bracket online finals, if you did miss that, so I do apologise to a little mispronunciation as I did have there. Hopefully all of you, we do have that cleared up now. And Coronae Australis, they have now picked up a Death Prophet, so they've got a very strong tanky push lineup coming out from the Death Prophet, and Visage is also tanky and can push with those familiars. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see some of these more push-based heroes coming out in that trial and safe lane. Maybe go for someone who has a gyrocopter who can clean up waves and work towards towers quite easily. Could be an option there, and Cooldown can be used as a ward away from the towers as you get the final few last hits on the tower.
Yeah,
could be an option.
Yeah, certainly. I gotta say, this Coronae Australis, they've had their profit bans. Pick certainly helps in terms of pushing. Last run, it's very nice to see them ban out an Aegis Prophet just to sort of mitigate the extra push. Oh, I mean, Aegis Prophet, he is so annoying with his pushing potential, but we won't see any of that happening this game. Puck and Bane also get banned out, which is a good choice coming out here from Coronae.
And We're just waiting to see the final last band coming out from Last Ronin. Last Ronin, they're looking to go for this build that works around Marana. You have a Crystal Maiden, your Marana is also picked up. They won't be able to pick up the Bane, however, there's still a Shadow Demon if they want to run that tri-lane with Marana as that safe lane carry. Crystal Maiden, Shadow Demon will set you up for any kind of arrow attempts you do have coming down there. That's a 4 or 5 second arrow, usually spells death once that arrow does land onto the map. Or we might be seeing that Crystal Maiden, Marana being run as the supports. Marana can even be thrown as that off lane hero. Once she hits level 6 she can start roaming herself. So Last Ronin, they've got a very open-ended draft here. Coronae, Australis, they're going for a draft that can push quite heavily. Another hero I was thinking about earlier for the part of their push strategy that could work is a Juggernaut. You get that healing ward down, heal up the creeps, heal up your side as you push against those towers.
Certainly can work quite well.
Dire team pick.
I was going to say, last week we saw, similar to as you were saying, the Shadow Demon. It's not going to be a Shadow Demon Marana combo here in this game, as they do pick up the Venomancer, but last week we saw Snatch Still use the Shadow Demon, use the Marana. They were able to find a lot of kills, and it was actually an offlane Marana as well, so they really didn't use that combo until later on, sort of the mid game, but it's still very, very powerful and really sets your team up. It's a very long stun. It's basically that hero is completely useless for the rest of that fight and usually dies very shortly after, so it's a very powerful combo. But this time around, Last Ronin, looks like they just want to go for potential Marana offlane or carry, just because when you've got a Venomancer Crystal Maiden, there's certainly your supports. And Coronae Australis, they decided to pick up a Rubik as a response to this, which I think is a good choice. There's certainly a decent amount of abilities to steal here from Last Ronin.
I was going to ask you about what you think about this Rubik choice, because there are some good abilities you can pick up, but then there's also none of those big abilities that you're looking for. I mean, Rubik's very nice to counter, say, a Bane. You can pick up your own Fiend script, maybe some of those bigger heroes such as the Magnus and all these others, but they don't have any of these massive big spells you can pick up. They have very useful utility spells. I mean, you have your Frostbite, you've got your Arrow Leap, your Gale and all that stuff, but you technically don't have your big ultimates. There is a Luna that now has her Eclipse up and running, but generally if you're trying to steal an Eclipse, she's gonna be killing you in the end. So I don't know, Rubik's is a nice pickup because I mean he does have a nice lockdown and that Fade Bolt, and not to mention his aura is going to work very well against the side of Last Ronin, as they are 4 heavy magic damage users at the start of the game. So I really like this pick. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Rubik does decide to pick up 1 point out aura early on in the game.
Yeah, well, one thing that's a bit of an issue with Rubik is his combination, the lift and the Fade Bolt, is a little bit minor line early on. He's not the strongest support early on in the game, but you can certainly help set up some good kills, especially with that Visage there as well. And a lifesteal, you can do a lot of damage. I would have liked to seen maybe a Gyrocopter instead of this lifesteal. I think it would have worked better with the Rubik and the Visage, personally. But lifesteal is still a strong choice, and it works well against the Luna's ultimate and quite a lot of these ultimates coming out from Last Ronin, or just abilities in general really, because they're all heavy magic reliant. But at the same time, that Gyrocopter would have allowed them to get the Rocket Barrage off, deal a lot more damage, and I guess set themselves up more better in the early game.
And we do see that Weaver and the Invoker has now been taken out of the pool. We won't be seeing that strong mid-utility Invoker does offer all that elusive Weaver, as we saw last game, that can generally find kills around the map, be able to get out of any situation with nice juking capabilities he does have an offer. And Templar Assassin's picked up for Last Ronin to be running in the mid lane against Death Prophet. How do you feel about this?
Well, I quite like, so one of the things that Death Prophet does really well in the early game is Crypt Swarm, which Templar Assassin can sort of block with just the refraction charges, which is good, and there's nothing that Prophet can, there's no dots or anything that she can get rid of it. Templar Assassin can very quickly, once their Prophet has a level 6, once she pops ulti, those towers can, there's nothing that a Templar can really do to shut down a Death Prophet unless you get some really nice side blade back, whatever the thingy where it bounces back to the back to Jumbo Lags. But yeah, it's not the best of choices, but it's certainly going to lower the amount of harassment that Death Prophet can do in this mid lane. Let's go on in the band teams. Let's introduce the teams. We do have on the side of Coronae Australis, their captain on the Rubik. We do have the Magibum on the Lifestealer. We've got Kaizek on the Visage. Alex, as we said before, is on the Death Prophet. And last but not least, we've got Diane for Darkrai on the Clockwork.
And over on the side of Last Ronin, you do have Bushido, who will be rotating top on that Venomancer, with the Exile on Luna and Crystal Maiden being taken up by the stand-in of Exion? Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. Exion. In mid lane will be picked up on the Templar Assassin by CLM. And finally, on the bottom lane will be Soupy Twist on the Mirana.
The battle begins.
Now, Last Ronin, they are using a few stands here just because a few of their members, 2 of them went on a cruise, and the other one
Join the army.
Joined the army? It was, yeah, that's right. So, unfortunately for them, they have to use a few stands for the rest of their matches.
Illusion.
Taking defense of the Australian to new levels.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for being so enthusiastic about my pathetic joke. I enjoyed it. So, but top lane, we do have Luna. She should be able to get fairly easy farm up against the Clockwork. Not too much Clock will be able to do. If he tries getting close, there is a Gale and they'll be able to chase him down. Same is said for down at bottom lane. However, Mirana does have the escape, and she does outrange both these supports with her auto attack, so she should be a little bit fairer off. She should be able to pick up a little bit more XP and gold, whereas Clockwork might be struggling a bit. He does have those cogs if he wants to keep those creeps back as close to his tower, which I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't been using, so he can get a little bit easier time absorbing the XP in that lane. And over in mid lane, Death Prophet starting out quite nicely with 5 for 1 with TA though, getting 4 for 2 and has 3 more creeps that she can possibly pick up on here, so fairly even around the board.
Yeah, so far it's pretty even. We do see some pulling from both sides now, already standard. Actually, there's the only difference there is that Last Ronin actually have a stack, whereas Coronae Australis do not. But yeah, CLM now picks up the bottle. Jumbo Lag still doesn't have. Actually, they decided to go for the full non-talisman, and I also bought Tango, so no pulling for him. Whereas CLM got pulled, and see, this is the real big difference. You do get that bottle much earlier if you get pulled a few tangos.
And speaking of that big difference, also you have the pool camps down inside of Coronae. Because they do have that pool camp into the second creep, you can farm up the creeps, get the gold, and you can deny the entire creep wave. Where at the same time at top lane, they just destroy a creep wave. They tend to not be able to pick up the creep kills or the XP coming from it, so it's a little bit more advantageous for the Radiant to do this, as they can pull through and get gold in the meanwhile, especially if the off-lane hero for the Dire side isn't an invis hero, because they usually come in and absorb the XP, but Mirana doesn't have that luxury.
I gotta say, one good thing that's going on here on top lane, my save, Imperial Dying for Darkrai, just a little bit chip damage.
I don't